Good morning, everyone. My name is Dara Deegan. I get to be the chairman of the River Basin Commission for 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the first meeting, our March 4th meeting of 2021. I hope everyone's doing well and everyone's healthy and staying safe. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Matt for introductions and roll call. This meeting to order.
Great, thanks a lot, Dara. Looks like we definitely have a quorum today, which is great. Before I start our roll call, I just want to provide a brief introduction to the St. Joe River Basin Commission itself before we get into today's meeting. I think it's especially important. We've got a lot of new members joining us today, which is great. And so I want to make sure I give us some context for our meeting today. So first of all, my name is Matt Mearsman. I am technically an employee of the Michiana Area Council of Governments in South Bend, Indiana. But I serve as the director of the commission as part of a cooperative agreement between those two entities. That agreement's been in place for a long time between the MACOG, you may hear us refer to as our acronym. A little bit about what we're doing here. This is the St. Joe River Basin or watershed, either one, you could use it interchangeably, is an area of land.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, Dara.
Sorry to interrupt you. We are kind of locking up a little bit. You're breaking up quite a bit. I wonder if we could recommend people maybe turning their screens off to help. I don't know if you have a recommendation.
I don't. So yeah, apologize for that. But yeah, folks, make sure you're muted. If you want to turn your screen off, that's okay too. So I was just, and I'll do my best. I apologize for any technical difficulties we may face. This is definitely not the way I wanted to host this meeting. And so we'll make our best here. I was just kind of describing the basin itself. When we talk about a basin or a watershed, it's an area of land that drains to a particular body of water. In this case, we're interested in the St. Joe of Lake Michigan, to be clear. There are two in the state. And there are 15 counties between Indiana and Michigan that drain to the St. Joe River. And it turns out that the way that these about 5,000 square miles of land are used and managed is the largest factor in creating and also addressing many of our water quality as well as water quantity issues of concern. Watershed management is what we're talking about. That's what this commission was formed for. And it's the idea of if you care about the water, if you've got concerns about the water, whether it's in a lake or a stream, you have to look at the land that's draining to that water to get a handle on it. So that's why we've got members from all over the area that drains to the St. Joe. We were created by the Indiana General Assembly back in 1988, initially to address water quality issues in the river and all the lakes and streams that flow to it. But we have been expanded to also be looking at quantity issues and flood mitigation. So our enabling statute does empower us to work cooperatively with Michigan, but our funding and governance rests solely on the Indiana side of the state line. So for those of you who can see that map that we're looking at, we've got about between a third and a half of the basin that's here in Indiana, and we've got about 8 counties in Michigan as well that we try to work with. This text has got a lot of this slide, excuse me, has got a lot of text on it. I'm not going to go over this. I just want to note it, and we can use it for reference in the future, but the primary functions of the commission are to provide a forum for discussion, study, and evaluation of water resource issues, watershed management, and to foster cooperative planning and coordinated management of natural resources between all these different local units of government. So our statute has a variety of different methods to serve that purpose, and there's obviously a lot on this slide, but I always like to include it as a reference that we can go back to if we need to. With that, who is the commission? I mentioned it's the Indiana side of the line, but we've got 6 counties, and from each of those counties, we have specific individuals, as well as a representative of the Indiana DNR that actually make up the commission. Each of the individuals designated in statute has the ability to designate a proxy representative to serve in their place. And there are currently 32 seats on the St. Joe River Basin Commission, which is when you factor in the proxies, it makes for a lot of people. So before I attempt some form of a roll call, I just want to go over some basic instructions for the meeting today, especially with it being virtual. You've been here for this. We're getting a little more used to it. So I think the key, remain muted if you can. If you're on the phone, you can use *6 to mute and unmute yourself. You will only need to unmute to make a comment or to cast your vote. If you're calling on the phone, consider joining on your computer. There's a great function for being able to have the computer call your phone. Feel free to use the chat feature. Leah is here today helping me sort of from MACOG. Leah's helping me monitor the chat to keep Dara and I make sure we don't miss anybody. There's Leah waving her hand. Leah's the senior environmental planner at MACOG, and I appreciate her help today. If you want to make or ask a question or make a comment, you can also use Google has a raise hand feature that's helpful. If your hand is raised, we'll do our best to give you attention. And then you can change your layout if you don't want to just be looking at me the whole time. Those 3 little dots down there at the bottom will allow you to switch to a tiled view and see a whole lot more folks if folks are sharing their screen. Okay. Important thing, it's more important than ever that you state your name when you're making a motion or asking any questions or providing comments with the virtual format. You do not need to state your name when you're just voting. Important to note that we are using consensus voting. The chairperson, Dara, will always call for a vote all in favor, as well as all who are opposed. And for any votes that are not unanimous, a roll call vote will be taken. So with that, I think I want to get into our actual roll call. So I'm going to start. I'm going to go county by county, throw up a slide with all of our members. And when I call on your county, if you could unmute yourself to be ready to introduce yourself. And if you can, share your name, your title, affiliation. And if you are a proxy, by all means, who you represent would be helpful. So we're going to start with Elkhart County. And we've got some new folks here from Elkhart County. So first of all, is there anybody, I know we've got someone from the city of Elkhart.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So this is Dara Deegan again, chair of the meeting today. I am Mayor Rod Robertson's representative on the commission. I work for the city of Elkhart as an aquatic biologist.
Thank you, Dara. And how about county commissioners? I think I see Brad Rogers here.
So I'm Brad Rogers, representing the county commissioners, and it's my first meeting. Good to be here today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Brad. Welcome aboard. How about from the health department in Elkhart County?
This is Bill Hartsuff. I'm the on-site program supervisor at the Elkhart County Health Department and the proxy for the health officer, Dr. Bethany Waite.
Great. Thanks a lot, Bill. And then how about anybody from the surveyor's office?
This is Philip Barker from the Elkhart County Surveyor.
Thank you, Phil. And how about from Soil and Water?
Jim Hess from the Elkhart County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Thank you, Jim. Jim's got their annual meeting tonight. Just going to plug in for that. All right, now on to Kosciuszko County. So if you're from Kosciuszko, if you unmute yourself first, do we have anybody from the town of Syracuse? I don't think Larry was able to join us today. So how about from the county commissioners? I know we had John Roberts here with us earlier. John, you still here? No. Like I said, I think we do. There he is. Oh, looks like you're muted, John. It's all right. I'll speak for you. John Roberts serves as Carrie Groninger, Commissioner Carrie Groninger's proxy. John served on the Kosciuszko County Soil and Water Conservation District Board for a long time. Thank you. And John's been our chair in the past. Thank you for being here, John. And how about from the health department in Kosciuszko? I know I saw Bob Weaver last week. I don't know if he's able to join us or not. How about Kosciuszko County Surveyor's Office? I saw those folks too, but maybe not here today. Last but not least, I know Jewel is here. Her mic is not working, but if she'll wave to us, there she is. Thank you for being here, Jewel. Jewel's on the board of the Kosciuszko County Soil and Water District as well. Okay, how about LaGrange County? Anybody here from the town of LaGrange? Ray Hoover, I know it's been in the past. How about from our county commissioners? I think I saw one.
Yeah, this is Peter Cook, county commissioner. This is my first meeting too, so glad to be part.
Really appreciate you being here, Peter. Welcome aboard. Martin, are you here as well? Doesn't look like it. All right. So glad you're here, Peter. How about from the health department in LaGrange? I know we've got folks here from the surveyor's office. If you guys could introduce yourself. Maybe. I know in the chat, Steve Vaughn, deputy surveyor, let me know that both he and surveyor Zach Holsinger were here. They maybe don't have a mic, but appreciate you guys being here. There we are. Yeah, good. Thank you guys. Okay. Last but not least, from the Soil and Water Conservation District. I don't think Donna was able to join us today. So I'm going to move on to Noble County. Do we have anybody here from the town of Kent or city of Kendallville? Okay. How about county commissioners? Health department? Surveyor's office? And I know Stacy wasn't going to be able to join us from Soil and Water. At least that's, I assume. All right, nobody from Noble County. That's unusual. That's all right. Okay, if anybody is here from, okay, so St. Joe County, we've got 2 cities in St. Joe County. How about from the city of Mishawaka?
Adam Bowden, Assistant Director of Engineering with the City of Mishawaka, proxy for Mayor Dave Wood.
Great, thanks a lot, Adam. How about from the city of South Bend?
Kieran Fahey from City of South Bend, representing Mayor James Mueller.
Thanks a lot, Kieran. How about St. Joe County Commissioners? Commissioner Dieter able to join us? Okay. What about Health Department? I know Mark Espic was not going to be able to be here today. He had some COVID stuff that he had to deal with. So how about Surveyor's Office? All right. And Soil and Water?
Sarah Longenecker, County Conservationist, representing the St. Joseph County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Okay. Last but not least, Steuben County and the Indiana DNR. So anybody here from the city of Angola?
Good morning, Chris Thomas, MS4 Coordinator for the City of Angola, representing Mayor Dick Hickman.
Thanks, Chris. Okay. Steuben County Commissioners?
Yes, this is Lenny Lichty, representing the Steuben County Commissioners.
Thanks so much, Lenny. Health Department.
Good morning. This is Alicia Walsh, Administrator of the Steuben County Health Department, proxy for Dr. Ted Chrisman, also Secretary of the St. Joe River Basin Commission this year.
Great. Thanks so much, Alicia. All right. And how about from drainage? I know we had Mike here earlier. Surveyor's Office?
Yeah, good morning. This is Michael Ruff, County Surveyor, Steuben.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mike. And last but not least for Steuben, Soil and Water? Janelle?
Good morning, Janelle Meyer, Administrative Coordinator for Steuben County Soil and Water, representing the SWCD.
Thank you, Janelle. And how about from Indiana DNR? Rod, are you still with us? I know we had Rod Edgell here with us. All right.
Matt?
Yeah.
This is Martin Franke. I apologize. I got into a complicated phone conversation. I'm late.
No problem. I was surprised to not have you here, Martin. So I'm glad you're on with us. We've got Commissioner Cook is here too, if you haven't seen him.
Okay, now my question on that is, since I'm his proxy, he's voting for himself today, correct?
That's right. So a good clarification for all of you who are here as proxies. We'd love to have you here, keep you in the loop. But if your actual appointee is here, please allow them to do all the voting. Thank you, Martin. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it back to you, Dara.
All right. Thanks a lot, Matt. I appreciate it. Let's do the first action item on our agenda today, and that's the approval of the minutes from the December 3rd, 2020 meeting. Matt distributed those minutes out last week to the commission via email. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or clarifications, changes to those minutes from the last meeting. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I just put a plug in, a thank you to Carla Herwarth, our office manager at MACOG, for her hard work on the minutes. Thanks, Carla.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Hearing no comments, can I get a motion to approve those minutes? And just as a reminder, as you're making a motion, please state your name.
Jim Hess, I'll move to accept the minutes.
Thanks,
Kieran
Jim.
Fahy. Kieran Fahy, I'll second.
Thanks, Kieran. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks a lot. All right, let's move on to financials. And the first item we have under financials is the financial report.
All right, Dara, I'm going to go over 3 different documents. The first one is our activities. I'm going to try and go through these quickly, and if anybody has any questions, we can take those at the end. Activities, basically our profit and loss statement. You'll notice that our net change in assets is negative as of this quarter. Important to note, these statements are prepared through 12/31. We're always about a quarter in the rear on our financial reporting. So as of 12/31, we were behind. But that should change. We've sent out invoices for all of our local government appropriations. So as we get into Q3, third and fourth quarter, we should be back in the black. Few notes on this statement. The one that I want to report on especially is under our state appropriation. For those of you who've been with us for a while, you know that the state was trying to cut all agencies by about 15%. We're already they've held on to 15% of our money. So we're 15% down on our state revenue that we expected. And then going into the new biennium, which would be for the next 2 fiscal years, they were going to take 15% away permanently, and then any kind of reserve could be placed on top of that. We fought real hard, and I'm pleased to let you all know that we managed to hold on at 104,000, about 105 really. And as far as I can tell from the current state budget, now that budget has not been signed by the governor yet, so changes could be made. But at this point, it looks like we managed to hold on to what we had gotten allocated. And as far as I can tell, we were the only river basin commission in the state that managed to hold on like that. So other than that, our drainage project income was a little higher than expected. So you notice a big number there on the percent. Our rent has increased for about the last year, over a year. MACOG has been charging us a reduced rent, reduced quite a bit from what our contract states, because we haven't had any additional staff or expansion. But with the interns coming on board back in October, we did move to a new space, and they're working on some new offices for us now. So our rent has increased, but it's fully within the budget, and it's up to the contract amount now. I think that's all I've got on this particular statement. Again, I am happy to take questions at the end of these 3, if that's all right. The second statement is basically our balance sheet. The key number to look at on here is our fund balance. That's essentially how much money we have in our pocket. We're in a strong financial position despite the loss. We were at a much bigger loss the first quarter. I did get a question as to why our accounts payable doesn't match our claims total, and that has to do with the reporting period. So this being prepared through 12/31, at that point, the only accounts payable we had were to the charges from MACOG up to that point, but we did receive 2 additional invoices that you'll see on the claims form. So that's why that number is a little bit bigger. Thought that was a good question we're sharing. The other thing maybe worth noting is that the total cash on this statement is our register balance. So it will not always match the bank statement. It does this quarter. But when we have checks that haven't cleared, that won't always match the bank statement. So I include a reconciliation report in your packet along with the bank statement to account for any differences. And then the last report I want to present is on our cash flow. Unlike the other ones, this is on a cash basis. And this is basically all the money that on the statement that was shared with you is all the money that comes in and goes out for that through that quarter. In this case of what you're seeing on the screen, that's just the money that's come in. And there's a couple things I wanted to highlight. We did get another quarterly appropriation from the state like we expected of about $22,000. We got revenue from our drainage project of about $5,000 or $4,668. And I wanted to let you know there's a blank right there under IU grant income, but we did get $19,000 from IU that we were owed. That came in February. So it's not on this report yet, but it is there. So, and the other big thing to report is since 12/31, so since this statement was made, all of our local government members have been invoiced for their 2021 appropriations, and we've had several of those come in. We've got about close to $19,000 that's come in so far. So like I said, we will definitely be back in the black. A couple to note, so Kosciuszko County, they were not able to meet the $213 increase that we had asked for this quarter or this fiscal year. For those of you who've been with the commission for a while, you know that we recently increased our request amounts by about 6% across the board. And Kosciuszko was not able to meet that, but I was pleased to know that it was not something unique for us. All the agencies and not-for-profits that they support, they were all held at the 2019 level. I want to thank LaGrange County. They met our requested increase and they have paid up for 2021. So appreciate that support. LaGrange has got the most land in the basin, and so they're the heart of it, and they have a big bill because of that, and we appreciate that support. Last, Steuben County, for those who've been with us for a while, and I'm so glad we got Commissioner Lichty here. We've been working with Steuben for a long time. They have not met our requested amount, but I'm pleased to report they've more than tripled the amount that they're given. So Steuben is now appropriated $3,500 to us, which for our new members, just important to note that this comes right out of our statute. The way that our expenses or our operation budget is apportioned out is based on land area. So how much of your county is in the basin compared to the other counties, that's how we come up with your bill. It's not arbitrary. It's based on land area and the cities in your county, their population. And so that's where those numbers come from. With that, that's all I have to report on the statements, and I'm happy to take any questions on any of them.
Matt, you'll have to remind me here. Do we take action to approve the financial report? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Any further questions for Matt? Can I get a motion to approve the financial report?
I'll make a motion. Alicia Walsh.
I'll second. Janelle Meyer.
Thanks, Janelle. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks a lot. All right, the next action item under our agenda here is the approval of claims.
Yep. Thanks, Dara. I sent the claims around along with all these invoices to the group last week. Pretty much, normal expenses from MACOG, a little higher this quarter because we had the 2 interns working with us for a quarter there. So expenses a little bit higher than what they had been in the past, but fully within our budget. And I mentioned 2 new claims. There are 2 new invoices that we received since the reports were done for the financial statements, and that is the payment for the stream gauge on Waldron Lake, which is part of the North Branch of the Elkhart, and then our legal counsel at today's meeting. So those are the 2 additional invoices included on the claims form today. And we will need approval for the claims, Dara.
Okay, any questions for Matt on the claims? Can I get a motion to approve the claims?
Lenny Lichty, Commissioner Steuben County, I will make the motion.
Thanks, Lenny. And a second, please.
Michael Ruff, Steuben County, I will second it.
Thank you, Michael. Any further discussion on the claims? We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks a lot. All right, we're going to move on in our agenda here to old business. Sorry, the first item under old business is existing projects.
Thanks, Dara. So this existing projects item is a sleeper, meaning there's a whole lot of stuff that I'd love to talk about. I should note that we often give an agenda. I say we, MACOG. We give an agenda to the chairman to kind of talk about who's going to say what as far as kind of help guide them through. And today, I gave Dara a special agenda that had some time limits on these things because I know that I get excited and I want to talk about all this stuff. So it's not because I'm leaving for vacation after the meeting that I want to have a short meeting. It's because I've got all these new members that I want to impress by seeing if we can keep this thing under an hour and a half. Closer to an hour for a digital meeting is about too much. So this item is important, though, especially for our new members because it covers all the things we've got going on. So I'm going to talk a little bit, but just one or two bullets about each of these. I'll take questions at the end. If you can remember, there's a lot of projects that I go through. And then there's a ton of stuff on our website about this, and I'm always happy to talk to you guys one-on-one. But we do have a lot of projects going on. And I guess one thing to note overall, so the things that we're going to talk about under this is what we would consider special projects in our work plan. This falls on the bottom part of our budget under special projects. And all this stuff is only possible because of the financial support that we receive from our members, from you guys. That's what helps cover our basic operations and allows us to use grant funds and state funds to help do some really cool stuff. So the first one that I want to talk about is additional MACOG staff. This is something we've been working on for a while. We did have 2 interns that were working with us for a while. You guys heard presentations. Some of you heard presentations from these folks last time. I want to just let you know that Connor Flora wrapped up his internship in December after helping to install another crowd hydrology gauge on Royer Lake in LaGrange County. Connor's been accepted into the Master of Environmental Management program at Western Colorado University and is pretty excited about that. Madison was our other intern. Madison was great. She's still here in the area. She wrapped up her internship in January after completing our annual report and making some additional updates to the website. She's still working on completing her undergrad degree in public relations at IUSB. The biggest, most exciting thing since those 2 have gone is I've been talking to the MACOG executive director about hiring someone to help us implement our water monitoring program. This, like we had talked about last year, this would just be a part-time position. We currently have about $30,000 budgeted annually for additional MACOG staff support, and would really be interested in getting someone on, possibly someone like an aquatic ecologist, but someone to help us with our monitoring program. So additional staff developments on the horizon. The second project I want to mention, falls under municipal partner support. We've been working with 6 communities in the basin, 3 on the Michigan side, 3 on the Indiana side, utilizing about $130,000 of Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grant funds to analyze the urban tree canopies in these 6 communities. Using GIS, looking at the current existing tree canopy and identifying priority planting locations where trees would have the maximum ability to uptake stormwater. So trying to save communities money on their stormwater infrastructure while at the same time providing some environmental benefits. And that project will result in the planting of 50 new 2-inch caliper trees in each of those communities. Since the last quarter, we have had a meeting to go over the results with the town of Syracuse on January 29th, and planting site selection meetings with the project forester, Marvin Petway. Those are going on this week in Middlebury, Coldwater, and Buchanan. I should mention this project was really cool in our ability to work in both states. We've been working with the Indiana DNR as well as the Michigan DNR, and our primary partners, Michigan Relief and the Davie Resource Group, have just been incredible to work with. But we have been helping all 6 of these communities with their urban canopy. Don't have a lot to report new under education and outreach this quarter, but I will touch on it a little bit in the next old business item, and then in my director's report. You'll remember at the last meeting, we did wrap up some communications trainings, and those are all available on our YouTube channel. If you just Google St. Joe River Basin YouTube, all those recordings, some good trainings for communicating messages about water. This one is the one that's probably the hardest for me to not say too much about. This is our drainage project. Want to mention we've got a lot of developments going on with this and some really exciting stuff on the horizon. The first thing for you to mention, or not for to mention, but first thing that I want to point out is the map, which is really small probably for you guys to see of the whole basin. But we've been working on collecting data on the location, at least initially, of all these regulated drains. And we've been able to do some calculations now that we've got all the drains from the whole watershed. By my calculations, we've got over 4,000 miles of regulated drains in the St. Joe Basin. And that's a big number. I want you to compare that to, based on GIS, where creeks, ditches, streams, rivers are. It's called hydrology is the jargony term. But on your map, where all the lines show up for where the water is, when I total up the total miles of all that water, it's 6,500 miles. So what that means is that approximately 75% of our waterways in the basin are managed as regulated drains. And what that means is that there's a funding mechanism in place to fund the work that occurs on them. It means that they have clear purposes for drainage for those water bodies. And I think the participation of the county surveyors in this watershed management effort couldn't be more obvious why it's critical when you consider how much of the basin is managed as a regulated drain. So really appreciate the county surveyors working with us on this project. For those of you who don't know, and I know some of you serve on drainage boards, some of you are county surveyors, so I apologize for telling you something you already know way too much about. But for the folks who are not, when I say that there's a funding mechanism in place for all these drains, what that means in most cases, and I know Elkhart County is a little special, but what that means in most cases is that all the landowners who drain to that ditch, they're the ones who have to pay for the construction of that ditch and the work that goes on in that ditch. And the way that they're supposed to pay for that, the way the taxing is based, is on benefit. And that's right what it says in the Indiana Code, that the benefit each landowner receives shall be used to calculate what % of the bill they pay. What we've been doing with this project is working primarily in LaGrange County, but also a little bit on the Michigan side of the line to help the drainage boards with their apportionment process by bringing in some data that hadn't been considered before, but that is explicitly stated in the drain code that it can be considered. And that's information about land cover, land use, as well as soil type. So we're trying to get a better, more quantitative approach to determining that benefit that each landowner receives. And what we hope comes out of this is an incentive for conservation, as well as a more fair method for taxing the landowners for the work that's going on in the drain. So that's the overarching part of the project. I know I already said a lot about it, but we have, since the last meeting, worked with LaGrange on another watershed, the Ricards or Richards Drain, and did provide some assistance and presentation to the brand new drainage board they got there. They just converted over from a commissioner-led drainage board to a citizens drainage board, and really excited to help some of those new members get their feet under them with this stuff. So the next step with this project, which I've mentioned to a couple of our surveyors already, is that we'll be reaching out to you guys on a survey. I'm hoping it's short. I've already seen it, 10 to 15 questions, but this is part of wrapping up the grant funded portion of this project. A little survey with you guys to get a handle on what kind of maintenance practices are being used, what money is being spent for them, are we right on the number of drains, all that kind of stuff. So for my surveyors that are on the call today, do be expecting an email from me with some more information, and hopefully we can connect for a meeting. So I'm going to leave this one at that. I know there may be some questions, but we'll get to them in a second here. So the next big project, I put this under here, our planning and resource development. We do try to develop plans as well as tools that can be used by communities to help them with water management. And the biggest one that we've done recently is our North Branch of the Elkhart River Flood Hazard Mitigation Plan. And we have wrapped up that project. I worked with the grantee and the contractor, and we, given a presentation in Noble County. So we wrapped up a big part of it, but I didn't want folks to think that it was done. There were next steps that were identified in that plan. We haven't forgot about those. And I just want to mention that, the next steps from that plan is to establish a flood resilience planning team with members from each county and community in the basin, the officials that we could get together. And the plan asks us to consider retaining a consultant or a facilitator to help with conducting some of these meetings with the flood resilience planning team. But the goal would be to identify and agree upon suitable flood resilience strategies. A bunch were provided in the plan, but trying to figure out which ones are palatable to which community would be the work of this team to hopefully lead to the adoption of some of these strategies. So things with the North Branch are not done. There are next steps to take, but I do feel like this was a big project that we are just kind of wrapping up the end of the planning phase, or even the study phase. Okay, I think this is the last item under this, the last sub item under here, and we're gonna talk about this more under new business, but I did want to let you know, I mentioned it with one of our interns. We did install a new crowdsourced lake level gauge on Royer Lake back in December, and we do continue to support the annual operation of the USGS gauge on Waldron Lake. So kind of existing stuff that's been going on with water monitoring I wanted to cover here. So with that, I think I'm going to open it up for, oh, yep, no, exactly. Sorry. I want to make sure I was through that. So does anybody have any questions on any of those items from the existing projects? I know I covered a lot of ground. I see a lot of like glazed over people. So for those of you who've been with us for a while, I know I talk about a lot of these projects each time, but they're exciting to me, and I feel like we're serving our purpose with these things. All right, well, that's all I've got on that item, Dara.
Great, thanks a lot, Matt. So the next item under old business is the 21st annual symposium.
Okay, just want to let folks know, especially our new members, the St. Joe River Basin Symposium, it says 21st annual there. We've been doing this for a long time. The St. Joe River Basin Commission has been sponsoring this event for a long time. And the purpose of the event is to bring the two states together. We always try to have a speaker. We used to provide a lunch and bring a speaker that has something to say that folks on both sides of the line would be interested in, recognizing that this is a bi-state effort that we're working on here. So last year we were forced to go virtual, and we are planning to go virtual again. I want to let everybody know that the date has been set. It's going to be Friday, May 14th. Like I said, it will likely be virtual in the mid-morning, about this same time we hold this meeting. We have not settled on a topic or speaker, so still open to suggestions, but we do have a couple that we're looking at. We mentioned this at the last meeting, that riparian rights and public water use, especially recreational use in both states, is something that's a hot topic, but we haven't been able to identify a really good speaker on this issue. So if anybody knows of an attorney or someone who's really worked on water rights a lot, and especially we'd like to find one or two people who could speak to Michigan and Indiana, because there's different things in both states. But that's a topic that's been suggested, and we're looking for speakers on that. The other topic might possibly be, we've had two big dam removals in the basin, one on the Michigan side and one on the Indiana side. So and one of those folks is our chairman that could speak to that. And so as maybe a backup plan, Dara, I'm hoping to keep you on retainer to speak about dam removal in the basin. Other than that, just want to let folks know we got the date set, and we are open to any suggestions y'all might have on topics.
Okay, thanks a lot, Matt. So we're going to move it into the new business on the agenda. And the first item under new business is with legislation.
All right. Thank you, Dara. This one's a big one. For those of you who have been tuning into my emails, I've been sending updates on a couple different pieces of legislation that are moving through the Indiana State House right now. The one that's received the most attention in the media is Senate Bill 389, which would repeal the state's wetland regulations. You know, I guess it's, I threw a slide or a picture on this slide of an example of an isolated wetland in the basin. This one's in Noble County. It's a part of the North Branch, actually part of the South Branch. It's by Mallard Roost. But the state's wetland regulation, I know some of you know a lot about this stuff already, but for those of you who don't, want to let you know that, you know, the state of Indiana regulates some of the few remaining wetlands we have left that are not directly connected to a water body, and they get this this name of isolated wetlands, but it's a misleading name because these wetlands are very much connected hydrologically to our waterways, and they serve as sponges out there on the landscape that do all the same things that the wetlands that are right there next to the stream do. And in Indiana, we've just lost so many of our wetlands that we're kind of desperate for whatever we can get. So back in the early 2000s, the state legislature did an intensive study on wetlands because the rules at the federal government had been changing, and it looked like a bunch of wetlands were going to lose their regulation. And the study committee found that that could have devastating economic impacts to the state. So it was a bipartisan effort. The state passed its state wetland regulations, which have been in place for almost 20 years now. And this Senate Bill 389 would repeal that. And the concerns that have been expressed by the authors of the bill for the regulation, like why they want to get rid of it, is that it has been confusing and it has led to you know, some misuse, and it has sort of hampered development and caused headaches for some farmers. So those are concerns that I think many of us can probably relate to. But it seems like a throwing the baby out with the bathwater kind of issue that maybe we need to fix this legislation because we can't afford to lose it. So with that, I just want to let you guys know that with Senate Bill 389, I did travel down to the State House, tried to provide testimony on this, ended up having to give it, you know, written because they didn't really allow anybody other than the two state agencies to provide testimony against this bill. I've had a bunch of phone calls with our legislators, really proud of some of the legislators in our basin who have stood up against their party in some cases to say, no, this isn't good for us. And so I would love to keep that fight up. The bill for an update on it, just not yesterday, but I think it was the day before, it did finally get assigned to a committee on the House. I know this is kind of in the weeds on as far as legislation, but where that bill is at, it's cleared the Senate. So that means it needs to clear the House side. And in order to do that, it's got to get through committee. And right now it's been assigned to the Environmental Affairs Committee. The hearing has not been scheduled. What that means is now is a good time to reach out to the members of that committee to let them know what you think about this. And if you'll notice from the bills, or excuse me, the letters and the emails that I've sent you guys, our main concerns with this are just that it could really impact our local governments, the cost that they spend to try to manage floods in particular, let alone water quality, is something that we have a lot of concerns with. So I guess I want to touch on the other bill before I open this up. I expect that we'll have some discussion on this. But I did also want to let you know that House Bill 1055 has been a concern as well. This would create or allow counties to come together and create watershed development commissions. And the concerns on this one are largely around what it would mean for existing commissions like ours. There was a lot of confusion as to what it would mean for us. And so had some really good conversations with the bill's author, as well as two of our representatives who, and I say our, meaning representatives with districts in our basin, who served on the committee that this was assigned to. And the author was very willing to send this, to make an amendment. We worked with them on an amendment to send this to study committee because we believe it needs to be studied further. But I guess to give you a sense of the purpose of this bill, there were some changes made to our sister organization, the Kankakee River Basin Commission, just last year. And those were big changes, and they were changes that allowed that commission to basically collect a tax from all the landowners in the basin. And so I think, in theory, having a reliable local source of funding for the kind of watershed management that we do would be great. But the way that the statute was written for the Kankakee is very much unique for the Kankakee, and the kinds of management for a system like the Kankakee is nothing like the kind of management that we need here in the St. Joe Basin. We do not look like the Kankakee, thank God, and we don't need the same kind of management. So we just want to make sure that this bill and any kind of power to create a watershed development commission really suits all the different kinds of river basins that we've got out there on the landscape. So that one it has now cleared the House, and it is, I think, on its way on the Senate side, amended to be sent to study committee, which is, I think, what we would like to see. So with that, I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to ask Dara to ask all you if you have anything on this.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. As far as Senate Bill 389, there's concerns here in the city of Elkhart. Our mayor has drafted a letter in opposition to the bill. I believe the city of Goshen has also done the same thing. As far as we're concerned here in Elkhart, we have enough water. We had that record flood 2 years ago, that 500-year flood that blew out a couple of neighborhoods here in Elkhart, and we don't need any more water. So we're certainly opposed to it, and we're grateful for your efforts on that. I don't know if anyone else has any other comments on the bill. I guess one question I have is whether or not the commission would be interested in making some kind of a formal position on this bill, or if we need to. Obviously, I don't want to put anyone on the commission in any kind of uncomfortable position, but certainly entertain the idea of discussing it.
I would just add, Dara, that I've been pretty clear on my letters to kind of say, Matt Mearsman, I serve the River Basin Commission, but I've never said like on behalf of the entire commission, or I've never, spoke in that way. So I've tried to be careful with that, but I think it would be really great. I mean, if the commission is supportive of it as a whole, and now's the time. This Environmental Affairs Committee on the House side could hear from us about this if the board chose to take action on that. If not, I'll just send the letters, with my name on them as me. But
Great, thanks, Matt. Anyone out there have any strong feelings about taking a position on this bill?
This is Alicia Walsh of Steuben County. Matt, I know we spoke about this briefly, but I believe that Senate Bill 389 would also be very detrimental for Steuben County. I mean, we're already having drainage issues here in the outlying areas, especially with Pigeon and with Fawn River. So I agree with you that maybe a collective letter from the River Basin Commission would be the best route, because it's all speaking collectively and it's a full region, not just one county. And I know that some of our representatives and our senators from this area are very against it, so I think it would give credence to their voice in speaking on our behalf as well, and it would only add support to their cause down in the legislature.
Thanks, Alicia.
I'd like to add a comment. Martin Franke from LaGrange County. I wrote a fairly extensive letter that I addressed to Sue Glick, our state senator, Denny Zentz, our representative, and Dave Abbott, who's another representative, a part of our county, and also was a former member of this commission. And I think I agree with what Alicia just said. And at the same time, I think as agencies, what we need to be careful of is, I do believe after almost 20 years of trying to answer questions regarding a flawed system, is what I consider it as. I understand the frustration on the other side of this issue, because Indiana's system of handling this, anybody that's a private landowner that wants to do something with land in question, they want an answer. Can I do it? Can't I do it? What can I do? What can't I do? And they might get an answer from one of 4 agencies and then find themselves in trouble with the other 3. That's not fair to the private landowners. That's not serving our constituencies. And if we as representatives of agencies just simply knee-jerk defend regulation in general without admitting to the fact that that regulation needs to be improved and streamlined, you know, it looks like we're just trying to perpetuate the swamp, I guess, if I dare use that terminology. You know, we really do have a responsibility to the environment on one hand and to our constituency on the other hand, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive. But I am strongly in favor of reasonable, understandable regulation. At the same time, I'm in favor of wetlands as well. And so I think we need to do both.
I'm very sensitive to that too, Martin. And I've really tried, you know, even in the stuff that I've done with my name on it, to be real clear that, yeah, there are issues here and we need to work those out. And so I think that helps provide that balanced approach on this.
Yeah, Matt, this is Peter Cook. And some of this stuff is, I wouldn't say new to me, but I'm probably not as knee deep into it as some of you guys. But yeah, it would be tough for me to come out and say, yeah, I completely support doing away with it. But yet I don't want to necessarily keep it all. I'm kind of in the same boat as Martin there. We need to find the common ground. And I don't know how you do that from where I'm at, from where I'm currently standing to what is the best alternative. So I don't know that I could make a vote one way or the other today for me.
Thanks, Pete.
This is Lenny Lichty speaking, and Matt's well familiar with my stance on this position. What you're all asking for is a standardized method across all departments and agencies for wetlands. I agree, there have been some oversteps of wet parking lots that can't be paved, and we also have people trying to cover up good wetlands. So I think we need standardization of what is rational and what we can accept before we can go forward on the vote.
That's good input, Lynn. I wonder if, you know, like for Pete or for Martin, I wonder if having that request for that standardization in a letter that opposes 389 for the standpoint of throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but we want to make it real clear that we need some work on this. Would that make it more comfortable, or could you get behind something like that?
I could definitely get behind something like this, like that, but it has to be standardized. It has to be across all agencies, so you don't have one. I've had Army Corps of Engineers come in and say that what IDEM has said isn't correct. We've all had problems with disagreements among agencies. So yes, standardized.
Gotcha.
I completely agree with that. Consistency is the goal. And that's where the frustration from the other side is. There's been no consistent application in my experience ever, and no comprehensible method to arrive at a reasonable solution to a question or a problem. At the same time, we're in a fix because each individual circumstance needs individual attention. You know, we need consistency, and yet at the same time, we can't treat every circumstance the same because we've got high quality wetland, low quality wetland, big wetlands, little wetlands, different circumstances, different demographics, different soil conditions. We need flexibility as well as consistency. Maybe I'm asking for too much.
Right. But I think doing it on mass and depth and soil type, I think we could get it accomplished. Oh, that was Lenny. It has to have a uniform. It has to be, how much land mass are we talking about? What is the depth? What is the soil type? And there has to be a standardization for that.
Gotcha.
And also, there's one other caveat. Is it a wetlands leading into a lake area? See, there you go.
That becomes a little more important all of a sudden, doesn't it?
Bingo. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, to a limited number of us. 101 lakes in Steuben County, 74 in LaGrange County. To us, it's a big deal. To other counties and other parts of the state, I'm not sure if they care quite so much.
Well, part of our mission, Martin, is getting folks in here in St. Joe County, where we don't have really any lakes to speak of, to understand that that does matter to us, because it's all downstream, and that's where, what happens up there at the top, whether you're got a lake immediately downstream or whether you're way downstream here in South Bend, it definitely makes a difference.
I remember back in about 2008, a movement that was fairly strong towards declaring part of the Elkhart River as a legal drain. To the counties to the east part of our Basin Commission area, that was something we viewed favorably, because from an agricultural perspective, we had a lot to gain from that. But the commission was divided on that issue when we went to draft a letter, because people in the west part of the commission basin area really had much different priorities than what, east versus west kind of thing. And, that all complicates these issues. But I think I'm hearing that we're sort of coming from the same direction on this.
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think it'd be nice to get a feel for, as Matt said, a viewpoint from the commission that we oppose Senate Bill 389. However, there's some caveats, and we would like to see some changes for streamlining regulation that makes it easier for people working with the land to get a project done related to wetlands. Does that sound like good to everyone? Does anyone have concerns with drafting a letter with those kind of statements?
I mean, this is Peter Cook again. I would say, in my mind, we need something, and it's very similar to what you're saying, but, we oppose it as it's written, but we don't want to just ignore the situation. It needs to be adjusted to where, it helps all the above, not just the left side or the right side of the river, whatever side you're on. I hate to use that term, but that's kind of the way things seem to be. But it can work for everybody if we do it in the right manner, and it feels like we either go full bore one way or full bore the other, and neither side is happy. So we need to figure out how we can state something that they understand. We're not interested in just getting rid of all the laws, but yet it needs to be adjusted. And however you guys can word that, that'd be much better than anything I could do. Happy. So we need to figure out how we can.
I think that Matt, and some of the language I've seen from you related to this bill, you did a pretty good job of kind of making those statements that we do definitely have some problems with the wetland laws, specifically as it relates to agriculture and targeting producers and that kind of thing. But then at the same time, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as you mentioned before, and don't completely eliminate regulations. I don't know if we can maybe circulate that. I'd be happy to try and circulate that and see if people were happy with the way that's written, and then use that as kind of our statement going forward.
Thanks, Tara. I think the only thing that's been mentioned that wasn't, I think I'd like to think that I hit on a lot of that stuff in my letter. And Pete, I don't know if you were able to see that or not, because you kind of are brand new. Exactly. So I definitely hit on that. But one thing that Lynn brings up that I think could be added, Dara, is the being real explicit about that consistency and standardization. I don't think that I was explicit about that, and I think that would help balance the letter.
Okay, thanks, Matt. So I guess I'm not sure what direction to take with this. I mean, are we good? Is the commission good with moving forward if I draft a letter and distribute it, and we see how people feel about it? Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah, and if
I'd be
you could
in favor of
email it to us and then we could review it and provide any input on it.
We venturing into something that's too complicated here, and maybe we should just leave it alone.
From a legal standpoint, if you're going to make a position letter like that, I would say you would want to vote to approve to send a position letter, and then to send it around. And if there's anybody that has suggested changes, they could make them within a certain time period. I would not leave it open for more than like a week after you circulate it. It could get very complicated depending on, you know, how long you let people put comments on it.
Thank you, Brandy. That's really helpful. That Dara, what I was gonna say is, you know, what we need here is a motion, and that's to send a letter. But I think you can put a couple caveats on there. That the letter would be based on the letter sent by Matt, with the inclusion of some language about standardizing the current regulations, and a window as to comments. And I don't know, Brandy, if you have any ideas, like if it's not consensus, then like if there's any comments sort of opposed, that then it goes away, or what? I don't know. But having a window for feedback, I guess, I don't know, would seem.
I mean, you could make it either way, depending on how you guys felt. You could make it either that they, if there's any negative feedback, that it doesn't go, or if there's feedback, you change it and then send it out again for another 3-day period or whatever.
Can we vote by email? I mean, like,
You
if
cannot
you like it,
vote by email.
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I didn't know if we had to have an official meeting or how that works. So.
You have to vote at an open meeting. You can't vote by email.
Okay.
Matt, I know you're trying to get through this. I got a question. So how is this bill faring through the House currently?
This is its first stop in the House. It actually sat for a long time without being assigned to a committee. I took that as I don't know, they're trying to make it kind of sleep and I don't know, but it wasn't being touched at the House for a good 2 weeks. And now it has been assigned to a committee. As far as I know, as of yesterday, it had not yet been assigned a hearing, but it has been assigned to committee. So that's where it's at in the House, Martin.
What are the odds this gets taken up before our next meeting and passed or not passed?
Very high that it gets taken up. I would say, I don't know, just based on what happened in the Senate, Pete, it's a hard thing to say, but based on what happened in the Senate, it's very high that it passes.
An additional concern that I have with this, if Indiana chooses the route of abandonment of regulation in this particular case, I feel like there's a real danger with a national trend going the opposite direction, that's going to attract federal interest and concern, and the federal government may step in and say, okay, for a state that's not doing anything about this at all, we're going to step in and tell you what you're going to do. I think we'd rather have home rule here than we would rather the other option of letting people in Washington, D.C. tell us how we're going to handle our own affairs.
Agreed. Dara, I don't want you to feel like I need this. I think it's a great idea if there's support for it, but we need a motion, and it's you guys aren't going to break my heart. I understand this is a complicated issue. and I can handle it, even if you did. I mean, I'll be all right.
This is Alicia Walsh. I will make a motion that Matt Mearsman drafts a potential letter, including opposition to the current language in Senate Bill 389 with suggested changes that would lead to streamlining and a clear outline of what wetland regulations are across the state of Indiana through different, how do I word this, agencies. And that I'll say 7 business day comment period be assigned, and after 7 business days from the onset of the letter that period closes. And furthermore, we all agree to it. Or if there's any opposition, majority opposition, then the letter will be sent on the behalf of the St. Joe River Basin Commission to legislators that are reviewing the bill. I think I got everything in that one.
Thank you, Alicia. That was a very long and impressive motion. Do we have a second?
One thing I would like to at least get clarity on that. Thank you, Alicia, for at least just putting it out there. We'll see if it goes anywhere. But from Brandy is, so we can't vote by email, but someone's got a record of sending their opposition to this letter. So let's say we circulate the letter and they write back that there's some opposition. That gets recorded, or that stops it. Sorry, Alicia, this would be more to you, not to Brandy, I guess. So if it's not unanimous, or you said majority, I think, and so that almost sounds like a vote, Brandy. What kind of opposition is going to be required to kill this thing?
Well, you're not allowed to vote, but you are allowed to give your opinions on things. So
yeah.
If you say, I don't like it, that's not a vote.
Gotcha.
So can we vote today, and then any kind of comment would be just a comment? So you can vote for or against it today because we have enough to do a quorum on actually sending a letter today. Would that be possible, Brandy?
Well, I guess I'm not following. Your motion would be a vote on whether or not to send a letter, with the stipulation that if you have more than, let's see, I think you guys have 32 people on your board. If you have 17 people who say they don't like it, it wouldn't get sent.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's what you made the motion to do. That would be fine.
I guess one thing I'll throw out too is I have some insider info, and I know that Matt is leaving for vacation after this meeting, I believe, for a week, which times up really poorly. And I don't personally know if I can handle this situation and trying to appease everyone if comments come in and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I can try, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it.
Right. Given that, Alicia, how would you feel like, so what if we just see like this goes anywhere without, like, given the based on the letter that was sent already to House members by the director, with the changes that you noted in your motion about streamlining and clarifying the rules, can we send a letter? I mean, at that, I mean, I know Pete hasn't, Pete, for example, hasn't seen that letter, but you can see where it goes.
I stand to amend my motion to what Matt Mearsman just said. I think using the basis of the letter that you have already drafted, adding the additional changes that Commissioner Cook and I think Commissioner Lichty have already mentioned about streamlining and a kind of standardization so it's easy regulations to read and interpret across all agencies, I think that would be best, yes.
So that would be an amendment to remove the comment period to just send the letter.
Correct.
And when we say, Alicia, just to clarify, the letter that Matt has drafted, it's actually, it's been, circulated to House members on his behalf, but this would be putting the commission on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can I ask if anyone has any strong feelings with this vote, with this approach? Would anyone like to second Alicia's motion?
This
Well,
is Chris Thomas. I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay,
Mayor, this is Chris Thomas. Can I make a comment?
sure.
Well, can we kind of just simplify? And I think we're pretty much all in agreement that we don't care for the language in the current bill. Could we not just state that and then request some sort of maybe a meeting or something with members of the commission or Matt or somebody to go over everything that everybody else has said during this discussion? Or, I mean,
Yeah,
just
I think,
keep it simple.
yeah, I like that idea. I think the timing on this is really bad. So it's the bill itself is going through the Senate very rapidly, and I think it's going to hit the Environmental Affairs Committee here pretty soon and just move too quickly. So I think the idea of getting together and discussing it would take too long, probably, especially with Matt going on vacation.
Well, that's why if we can just have a simple letter that says we oppose the current language and, you know, and going forward would like further discussion on certain points in our commission.
Well, what I would say to that is you seconded a motion for a different letter. So,
Right. Yeah, so just going back to, we may have to, I'm just saying, let's keep it simple and say, I think as a commission, we have to say we oppose the current Senate bill. And then if time is of the essence, I think just making that statement with the understanding that there are other concerns that we would like to bring to our state officials as they move forward, but getting something out there before they actually take a vote on it. So yeah, I'm kind of changing what Alicia said, but.
So Chris, before you clarify whether you're taking your second back or not, I just want to say I think what Alicia was trying to do was address some of the concerns expressed by other commission members, that to simply say we don't agree with this bill, which I mean I think in one sense is what people are saying. There's this concern that in itself, if we don't qualify that with the need to improve what's currently taking place, we're going to lose those commission members on this vote, and it's not going to be consensus. So I think Alicia was trying to address that by saying, yeah, we'll send a letter that's against this bill, but that makes it real clear that we think some work needs to be done on this law.
Correct. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, because you're going on vacation, just keep it simple and basically what you just said. How's that?
Gotcha.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification, Chris. Definitely appreciate it. Does anyone else have any comments, discussion? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nay. Excellent. Looks like we have unanimous consent. Motion carries, and we'll go ahead and get that letter drafted and get it sent out. Matt, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I did. I just want to thank, I want to let those commission members that, that this makes especially uncomfortable, please get in my ear. I want to hear from you about this, because the way things are being done right now makes me squirm too. I mean, this is, I compare it to what's going on with law enforcement in general. I mean, all it takes is one bad regulator to screw it up for everybody. And we've got some connections with those agencies. We can fix this. I think we can make it better. Let's not get rid of it. And I want to hear from you guys about that. So thank you.
Hey, Dar, if I can, this is Jim Hess. I think the important thing in this whole thing is Matt's got a lot of great information and a lot of data. And I think that consistency on the information and the data that's already been collected can be shared throughout the whole basin, not to just lay it on Dara or Matt's lap. I think we all need to take a proactive approach on this and reach out to and educate the public on all of this so that it's not just us. And I appreciate the fact that the basin's going to take a stance, and I think that's important. But it's the way it's written, in the way that it's worded, and that there needs to be something done. But please reach out and grab that information that Matt has and all the data so that we can keep all that stuff consistent as a whole basin here.
Hey, Matt, this is Adam with City of Mishawaka. I just wanted to make a comment as well, just that to this point, obviously, we've trusted you to represent the basin, and you've done a good job of that. And I think we would be doing a disservice to our commission, considering, you know, our mission statement is to encourage conservation of the land and everything. So I think for us to not do anything in regards to opposing this bill would be a disservice to the commission. So just wanted to say those comments and thank everyone for voting in favor of this.
Thank you, Adam. And Jim.
Yeah, thanks, folks. Thanks for the great comments. And obviously, this is not an ideal format to be discussing this issue. You know, like if we could be in a room right now discussing this thing, I think it would have went way smoother. And I certainly appreciate your patience. And those who are kind of uncomfortable with the idea, I certainly appreciate you weighing in. And we can definitely kind of touch on it more as we go forward. So I guess let's move on in the agenda if we can and discuss water monitoring projects.
I was just thinking, Doc, so much for me impressing those new members with a short meeting, right? All right. Okay, I will try to make these quick. Let's see here. I got to get to the next slide. Let's see. It's not flipping for me. There we go. All right. Hey, there's you on that slide, Dara. So the next item under new business is water monitoring projects. And I just want to give you guys a heads up that so for these next two items on the agenda, I'm not looking for any action on these. I want to plant the seed, and I'm hoping to be able to come back in June with some proposals that you guys can take action on. Regarding water monitoring, we've got, I think it's about $30,000 in our budget for water monitoring. We've been kind of trying to come up with a strategy, and I think I'm getting close on this. And that strategy, on its most basic level, is splitting this into two components. And that's quality and quantity. And what we want to do is be thinking about flow and how much is coming through the system. And right now, we're sort of limited by what we know from the USGS stream gauges. And for those of us who work in this stuff a lot, we're losing those gauges quite often because of funding. And so I had some meetings with a company called Toll Talk that the Maumee River Basin Commission has been using. If Kieran's still on the call with us, the technology that these folks have is very much like what MNet has done for City of South Bend in the way of smart sewers and monitoring with devices that are solar powered, completely self-contained. They send the information via a cell antenna out to the cloud. And once it's there, it can be accessed and made available live in real time. So the cost of these units is really inexpensive compared to USGS. So to review something that Connor touched on in his presentation last quarter, to install a new USGS stream gauge is about $20,000. The annual operation and maintenance of one of those stream gauges is $14,000. As I mentioned, $30,000 total budget that the River Basin has. That means that if we just put one in, it would wipe us out for a year, and it'd be half of our monitoring budget every year for just that one. So not feasible for us. This particular hardware is about $1,000 a piece for the hardware itself, and then only $250 a year for the cell plan and the data, and they even do data visualization. We would have a website where all of our gauges could show up along with the USGS gauges, and we'd be able to start collecting. And just to be real clear about this stuff does not really become valuable for a good 5 to 10 years. We need to collect long-term data to be able to do the kind of studies like we've done in the North Branch of the Elkhart. The only reason we were able to do that kind of a study there was because we were lucky enough to have a USGS gauge there that allowed us the information that we need. So I'd like to get a plan in place that we look at as like a 10-year plan for establishing some new locations to put, and you know, with this company, and I'm not saying we necessarily go with this company. I mentioned Kieran because I sent a note to MNet, which is a local company, to see, you know, what they might be able to offer. But with the idea of the river basin more using a contractor to install some of these devices throughout the basin, with about half of our total water monitoring budget sort of to be dedicated to monitoring quantity. We would try to establish locations with these that are, you know, in strategically located so that we can benefit the main tributaries of all of our members, as well as I really would like to see this having a bi-state component to it. I think we want to look at where needs might exist on the other side of the line. There is a whole bunch of the basin in Michigan that is coming to Indiana. That's where, you know, we receive a lot of water from Michigan. So being able to understand that is going to help us work with our partners up there to get some things done. So I don't want to see this at this point. Again, I'm planting seeds, hoping to get some discussion with you guys, not necessarily on this meeting, but one-on-one as to concerns about that. But I would really like to see this something that goes on both sides of the state line, and we work with folks like the consulting firm that worked with us on our North Branch plan. They have provided suggestions for locations in that particular subwatershed. I would like to work with them as well as others in figuring out some new locations that expand where we could do those kind of studies at. So one prong is on the flow side. The other prong is on the quality side, which is the original purpose of the River Basin Commission. And Dara, I know this is your forte. You know a lot about this stuff. For those of you who don't know, Dara's work with the city of Elkhart is a program focused in the cities of South Bend, Elkhart, and Goshen, if I'm correct, in basically the highly urbanized area of the basin, where they collect a lot of biological information, fish sampling as well as bugs. And the whole point of all this stuff is the things that are living in the river are really, it's the cheapest way for us to figure out the overall health of the water. We're using them like the old canary in the coal mine sort of thing. You know, depending on what we find living there, we have a good sense of overall trends, and then we know where we got problems. So the problem is right now within the St. Joe River Basin, other than some sampling that takes place from the state, and that's on a 3 to 5 year cycle, we don't have any annual consistent monitoring information for biology outside of the urbanized area. And so I've actually, Dara, along with myself, have been talking to someone who is a faculty at Holy Cross College, a recent grad from Notre Dame. She's an aquatic ecologist, and she has gone after some grant funds to establish a basin-wide biological monitoring program to try to. And I would really like to kind of connect with her sort of officially through the River Basin Commission beyond just a support letter, but actually trying to have something that was kind of under the umbrella of the River Basin Commission as a program, but taking advantage of her efforts to both secure some funding and to administer such a program, along with the guidance of Dara, in terms of we want to make sure whatever we do is consistent in the ways it needs to be with where we've already been collecting this information. But again, this is something that I would like to see us do on both sides of the state line with both of these monitoring efforts. And you know, I do want to hear from you guys. If you feel like, you know, we need to, focus on the Indiana side, but I think it's really important for us to have an understanding of the whole basin. That's the one thing I keep hearing from the consultants who we've asked to study different parts of the basin, is you really need to look at this as a whole. And I think we're gonna lose a lot if we just stay focused on the Indiana side of the line with our monitoring in terms of being able to actually say anything in 10 years about what's going on here. So I know that was probably longer. That wasn't that fast, but that's all I want to say on this. I'm planting seeds. There will be some proposals for you guys to review, but I wanted to put it out there for you that we're making progress on this.
On the monitoring devices that you're looking at, From a public purchasing standpoint, I don't believe that the commission has a small purchase policy that would let you just buy them from one vendor. Are you aware of other vendors that might have the same product or the similar products?
That's the thing. Mnet is the one that I'm aware of locally, and so I would definitely want to check with them. But let's assume there are others. Brandy, what are you suggest? Like, how can we cover ourselves?
If you can figure out, if you find out that there's more than one place you could buy them, you would need to get 3 quotes.
Okay.
And then the commission would need to pick the one that was the lowest responsive quoter.
Okay.
If you figure out that there's only really one place you could reasonably obtain them, then the commission could make a special purchase under the there's a statute that says if there's a single source for the supply you're looking for, you can buy it without getting quotes from more than one, because that would be stupid. But so you'll need to look in to see if there's more than just the one place to get those.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Matt, for the update. Does anyone have any other questions for Matt on water monitoring? Okay, let's move on to the Pigeon Creek study.
Okay. All right, folks, this is following up on what we did in the North Branch. So we wanted to look to expand those efforts of studying and understanding the basin. And so I had conversations with Bob Barr and Siavash, who helped us with the North Branch plan, about looking where we go next. And one of the things we've talked a lot about is Pigeon River, Pigeon Creek. This flows through 2 of our, largely through 2 of our member counties and touches on a couple of others. But Pigeon River, Pigeon Creek is really interesting, and it would really create a good juxtaposition with the work that we've done in North Branch. Pigeon River is high quality, but it also has some sections, a big long section, as Michael Ruff knows, that's managed as a regulated drain, and it's been engineered. It's been altered in a way that we haven't seen in the North Branch. And so with this study, the kind of recommendations will be coming out of this is in terms of how we manage those multiple uses in the best way. And so what kind of large wood management strategies, bank stabilization issues in certain places where it's been engineered, those would all be part of this study that, we're not so much of a part of the North Branch because it's a natural stream for a large segment of it. I recognize that it's got significant tributaries that are managed as a regulated drain. But anyhow, the consultants sort of presented us with the proposal at my request, and we have exhausted our planning budget for this year. But I think this is something that we'll be revisiting. I mean, we'll be coming up on new budget time in June when we hold our next meeting. So in terms of thinking about what we might go with our planning budget next year, I think the Pigeon River would hit a big chunk of our basin and be a really interesting, like I said, contrast to what we learned in the North Branch that we could apply. And so they don't want to stop there. Of course, we want to study on further to the west in the way of Little Elkhart River and the South Branch of the Elkhart, and we want to keep going with some of this understanding. But I'm sort of looking at Pigeon Creek as the next place that we go. And so the proposal that they put together had a similar cost, even though the area was quite a bit bigger. If you don't remember, we had grant funds that helped us with the last one, but the cost we would be looking at for what they have proposed, and I would share this proposal with you all before I ask for any action, but we'd be looking at about $70,000 to fund a study on the Pigeon River. And that would be the whole river, not just the Pigeon Creek section. So again, would love to hear from you guys about this, whether it's here now or later, but definitely don't want to stall out on some of the studying and the work that we got started in the North Branch.
Does anyone have any questions for Matt on this proposed study?
Just a comment, Matt. Steuben County and Janelle could probably provide some input on that. I've done some extensive work in the Pigeon Creek. LaGrange County finished the watershed management plan 2014, as I recall. I've got an overloaded 4-inch binder here that should be a lot bigger yet than it is on that. So been a lot of work done, probably in sort of a piecemeal fashion. 319 grants, GLC grants, 205Js, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if you're proposing more of a unified pulling it all together kind of thing, but it needs it. I definitely concur.
Thanks, Martin. That's a great point. And I think that was also something that we faced in the North Branch. There had been a ton of studies done already. Like, why are we doing another study? And we want to be real explicit about what we hope to learn with this that we don't learn in like the comprehensive watershed management plan that may have been created. So, just looking at the notes that I made from the proposal that they sent, some of the things that I think that would be unique and new are sort of that river corridor hazard assessment that they provided. I've shown maps on some of these meetings about how they map the corridor, the floodplain, what's highly erodible within the corridor, and that can help communities with planning. In this case, not only would it be the whole main stem of the Pigeon River that they're looking at with those custom maps, but also Turkey Creek and Fly Creek, two of the largest tributaries that come into the river. So, we should talk for sure more about whether there's enough new here, but I think kind of like in the North Branch, there could be some value just in going through this process together that in the way of what we might learn. So thank you, Martin.
Okay, any other questions for Matt? Okay, the next item on our agenda is other business / updates. Does anyone from the commission have any updates that they'd like to provide? One of the, earlier on in the meeting, Martin in the chat had proposed the idea of, let's see, seeing if we could have separate commission members, that ones that make the motion versus the one that makes the second from different counties. Am I understanding that right, Martin? Maybe potentially changing the bylaws to account for that. Martin, do you want to present?
Yeah, and I don't want to drag things out again, but I just noticed that we did it today. I know we've done it in the past. Myself, I have sort of tried to watch that when I'm a voting member of the commission. If somebody from my same county, the health department, the commissioner representative, the soil and water representative makes a motion, I've tried not to second it, or I like to see that they hold back when I make a motion, just so that it doesn't look like one county sort of railroading things through. But that may not, maybe it's my concern and no one else's. So I'm just bringing up the issue.
Does anyone have any strong feelings on this? Our feelings in general on Martin's thoughts. I certainly think it's not a bad idea. I guess there could be an issue if we have like quorum problems and that kind of thing. But beyond that, I don't think it's a bad idea. Any other thoughts?
I would just note that regarding our current bylaws, we do have some language like Martin's suggesting around our quorum requirement, so we don't just need 11 people. We need 11 people that are from 3 different counties at least. So we've got that in the way of, we wouldn't have a quorum without having someone here, present voting from each of the counties. But I do appreciate Martin's comment and concern.
From a legal perspective, there's nothing that would stop you guys from amending your bylaws to do that. But as someone who advises a lot of boards, it's not something I would recommend to restrict yourselves in that fashion. But I mean, there's a procedure in your bylaws to amend them. And if you decide you want to do that, you can make that happen.
Hey, I guess one suggestion I would have, Martin, if you're comfortable with this, would be, make the chairman do a little bit more work, and then, ask for someone from a separate county to make that second. How would you feel about that?
That would be fine. Brandy, I'm not questioning you. Is it just because it adds an extra burden of complication to the whole process? Is that why you would advise against it?
It adds an extra twist of complication, and it can also just cause some confusion if somebody happened to not know what county somebody else was from, or it adds an extra step that you don't need to have.
And maybe it's not a concern. I'm not trying to make an issue where there isn't one, but yeah, Dara, that would be that'd be fine with me. I think personally, I've tried to keep it in mind if everybody would think that way as we make motions and seconds, that we don't want to make things look like they're too one-sided, I guess is my concern. And it doesn't have to be official.
Gotcha. Thanks, Martin. I think from now on, maybe in the next meeting, and we'll try and keep track of this, but we'll ask people to make a motion, state their name and what county they're from, and then we'll just kind of keep track of it from there. I definitely appreciate your comments, and it's definitely worth noting for sure, and we'll try and move forward in that fashion. Thanks a lot. Does anyone else have any updates for the commission? I do have one, if I could present it real quick. So the city of Elkhart is currently in the process of working with the city of South Bend Parks on a goose management plan. This is an urban goose management plan. And we're trying to form a coalition between Elkhart County, St. Joe County, and the various park departments in each counties, and then potentially opening it up to other areas in the basin that might have urban goose problems. For those of you who are around water and know geese, they can present a nuisance issue, but managing them is a public relations nightmare, can be a public relations nightmare. So we're trying to form a commission or committee to have a unified voice in moving forward. We have been working a little bit with the DNR's wildlife biologist, and if anyone out there is interested, if you have a parks department that has similar problems and would like to be part of the process, please don't hesitate to email me. With that, does anyone else have any other updates? All right, we're going to move into the director's report, Matt.
All right, Dara, I'll make this quick for those of you who are new. That I always have this on here as an opportunity to kind of review things that aren't covered on agenda items. So I'm just going to kind of blow through this stuff. I do have an actual 2-pager document that I could share if any of you are interested. But basically all kinds of administrative stuff, especially with new board members. And we've had some annual reporting stuff that we've had to complete both for the Census Bureau and the state. Education and outreach wise, definitely made a lot of presentations in the last quarter. One big one with IDEM, also did some stuff with Elkhart SWCD, the Berrien County Conservation District, and the Nottawasepi Huron Band of Potawatomi up in Michigan. Lots of inquiries this quarter from all kinds of different folks on things from box turtles to whether we should be putting salt on our trails to internships, water walkers, water watchers, all kinds of stuff I had questions about. And then did provide some assistance to some local students, 2 different schools on some water quality projects and newsletters on the website, documentary going on the St. Joe. I've been giving them some information. So lots of things with education and outreach. Planning and resource development. Jim mentioned some of the data we have around wetlands. I provided some reports to Planning and Land Use Committee for the Nottawasepi Huron Band about wetland functional assessment. Also worked with IU on closing out our North Branch project. There was some stuff there. Water monitoring wise, other than what we've spoke about already, created sort of an online map to help us with getting ready for this plan, and then assisted with planning and moderated at the Indiana Water Monitoring Council Symposium that took place since our last meeting. And partner support, try to get out there and see you guys a lot. I went to a bunch of drainage board meetings, stormwater meetings, commissioner meetings. I'm trying to be out there so I know what's going on. I want you guys to be able to tell me how I can help. Give several support letters to different partners who are going after grants. I saw Steve's note from LaGrange County. You're more than welcome for the help I've been given there. I've been helping them both with their drain assessment stuff, mail merge and tax software and different kinds of stuff, trying to be helpful there. They've got a brand new drainage board, and so things are things are happening there. And then last but not least, advocacy wise, I mentioned, obviously a lot of stuff with the House Bill 389, or excuse me, House Bill 1055 and Senate Bill, but also just usual kind of reviewing the Indiana DNR floodway notices. Those all come across our desk. Met with the Conservation Law Center about state drainage codes. And then I told Zach, the surveyor from LaGrange, as well as Matt Sandy, the floodplain administrator in Kosciuszko County, I am working on trying to get some help on changes that have been made to the regulatory floodplains. Definitely a lot of confusion around this. This is an issue about as complicated as wetlands in terms of what rights a landowner has along what's now all of a sudden declared a floodway, and how did that change get made? Why was it changed, and why wasn't I told that I lost rights to this property? Those are real issues, and I do hope that the River Basin Commission can be sort of helping with the outreach on this, because right now it's happening. It's coming to the drain office. I don't know if the commissioners are hearing about it, but a lot of people are like upset because the state's taking away rights from them, and we're the ones that are supposed to understand, if you're going to lose rights, what is this about and why is it happening? We need to be ones that can communicate that message, because hopefully it's occurring for a good reason and based on good data. So let's find out if it's not. And so anyway, I'm stopping with that. That's under advocacy work that I've been doing. Like I said, happy to share the 2-pager if anybody wants to see it.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Greatly appreciate it, and greatly appreciate all the hard work you do. I know you're a part-time member for the commission, but I certainly have got to see the amount of hours you put in. Greatly appreciate it. The last item we have on the agenda is items from the floor. I guess that's just kind of similar to updates from the commission. Does anyone have anything else they'd like, updates or anything that they'd like to throw out there?
I should state that I did put out, I got a list of, 200 stakeholders that get announcements about the meeting. I invited them to submit any questions or comments via email. I did not get any.
Great, thanks, Matt. Any other items? With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. And but before I do that, just want to say thanks to everyone for the meeting, and certainly appreciate your patience and the time you've given, especially the new members, as we discussed that controversial Senate Bill 389. Thanks a lot.
So as we get that motion, I just want to let everybody know, I've had personal communications with a couple of you. We were really hoping to have an in-person option this time. It fell through. The spot we were going to be still being used for COVID testing, but I'm doing everything I can for our June meeting to make sure that there is a spot that's big enough where we can all stay away from each other, and that those who can travel to Goshen will have a place to come to and have that discussion. But as long as the governor keeps allowing us, we will still be providing an option for virtual participation as well.
Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn, Adam Bowden, City of Mishawaka.
Thanks, Adam.
Second, Brad Rogers, Elkhart County.
Thanks, Brad. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.